Good day and warm greetings to everyone for today's event. I am very glad, but at the same time sad, because this episode is going to be bittersweet, since it's going to be our last episode for On Changing Climate and Mind. And as one of your hosts today, I am Annie Xavier Amoranta from Chief Psychology 6 of the College of Science and from the Green Committee of Psychology Society, your sustainable savvy.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sabrina V. Periabras from Tree Psychology 2 of the College of Science, your Sustainable Sab, and also from the Green Committee. And we are one with you in this advocacy.
And of course, to kick off this program, this episode is in collaboration with Environmental Advocates Reaching Towards Humanity, Earth UST, and is co-presented by CEU Psychology Society and UST Behavioral Science Society.
In partnership with Agriculture Students Association of the Philippines, ASAP.
And of course, with special thanks to Mapua Psychology Society and USC Community Achievers Association. We hope you're all excited as we are as we discuss climate change and how it affects mental health. Advocacies that we Tomasians must promote, especially now with the recent trends on climate change and the surge in mental health concerns brought by the pandemic. So Sam, can you brief us on what's in store for our participants today?
Of course, Xavier, as we all know from the previous episodes, climate change has a significant effect on mental health. Hence, people's anxiety and distress about the implications of it are undermining mental health and well-being. And in this episode, we will be tackling climate anxiety and its effect on a person's mental health.
Thank you for that insight, Tab. I'm really excited about today's topic since I can see that I can really relate to the effects of climate change, especially with the intervals of rapid warming and cooling. With that being said, I am really thrilled to know more about how climate anxiety affects the mental well-being of a person and how climate anxiety is addressed.
It's great that you mentioned that, Xavier. Now allow me to introduce our speaker for today. She is a registered guidance counselor, psychometrician, and licensed professional teacher. A graduate of Masters in Education, major in Guidance and Counseling at the Philippine Normal University, and also pursued an MA degree with units earned in Developmental Psychology at the University of the Philippines, Diliman.
In addition, she is an active member of professional organizations such as the Psychological Association of the Philippines and the Philippine Guidance and Counseling Association. Her extensive background in counseling, testing, program development, module writing and facilitation, organizing events, and conducting training for seminars she gained from her more than 2 decades of devoted working experience as a counselor in basic education.
Currently, she is a college counselor handling medtech students under USC Faculty of Pharmacy. She also engages in activities and speaking engagements that advocate for mental health and wellness.
The long wait is finally over. Without further ado, let us all give a warm welcome to Miss Leilani R. Versosa as she presents to us on the topic climate anxiety.
Before I start, may I take this moment to express my appreciation to the organizers of this project, UST Psychology Society, in collaboration with Earth UST. It is my pleasure to take part in this YouTube series on impacts of climate change to mental health. For this third episode, I am to share with you more on the topic of climate anxiety, cutting through the doom and gloom of climate change and on how to take care of our mental health. So, I'm sure a burning Amazon rainforest, thinning ice sheets, sea level rise, wildfires in California, thawing Arctic permafrost, it's no surprise that many of us have anxiety about our planet's future. Awareness of climate change has somehow given us the notion of somewhat impending gloom. And this information triggers a variety of gloomy emotions to us. Climate change has brought about an emerging psychological phenomenon termed as climate anxiety or eco-anxiety. It was defined by American Psychological Association in 2017 as the chronic fear of environmental doom. accompanied by feelings of loss, helplessness, frustration due to one's inability to feel like they are making a difference in stopping climate change. Now, what causes climate anxiety? So, climate anxiety poses psychological effects directly, indirectly, or via awareness. So, direct exposure to extreme weather events or natural disasters precipitated by climate change, including hurricanes, heat waves, wildfires, and floods, can lead to cause various emotional concerns. But its effects are not also limited to people experiencing firsthand biophysical impacts for climate change. Actually, indirect consequences of these are psychological concerns brought about by any climate change related events that affect physical health, economy, personal, and social functions. Lastly, anyone with access to climate change information through modern communication technology is potentially susceptible to experiencing this anxiety. So, simply knowing about the risk, reading them in social media, okay, these posts by climate change, even from those not otherwise affected by it, can actually cause psychological conditions. So, environmental damage does not affect all people equally. For this reason, some people may feel anxiety around ecological issues more intensely. So these are the following groups that face more physical and mental health effects from changing climates and environmental damage. So some parts of the world are more vulnerable to the effects of extreme weather, including coastal communities and low-lying areas, particularly people whose livelihoods depend on the environment, no? Such as those with jobs in fishing, tourism, and agriculture, are more likely to be affected. Also, people who live in indigenous communities often rely on natural resources and tend to reside in the more vulnerable geographic areas. They may face the fear of losing housing, their livelihood, or their cultural heritage, which can be damaging for the sense of identity, belonging, and sense of community. So, people who work in environmental jobs or as first responders and emergency healthcare workers might also be more prone to climate anxiety. So same thing goes with displaced people and forced migrants. Also same with people of lower socioeconomic status, children and young adults, and of course the elderly, and people with pre-existing mental or psychological health conditions. Now, climate anxiety is often accompanied by these feelings. Okay, we have fear, sadness, helplessness, frustration, guilt, grief, distress, and betrayal. But on the question, is this considered as a mental illness? The answer is no, or not yet. Okay, it's not currently listed in DSM. So hence it's not officially considered as a diagnosable condition. However, if these negative emotions are left unmanaged, they can trigger or affect mental health in several ways and may manifest as anxiety, depression, aggression, substance abuse, trauma, shock, or even lead to PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, or may also manifest through reduced feelings of autonomy and control, feelings of helplessness, fatalism, and fear. So allow me to share with you, okay, bits of the results of a recent popular study published just September of this year, 2021. More particularly on those relevant data for us Filipinos. So, psychotherapist and climate psychologist Caroline Hickman just led a team of 9 researchers at the University of Bath in the United Kingdom. So, their study is entitled Young People's Voices on Climate Anxiety, Government Betrayal, and Moral Injury, a global phenomenon. Okay, this surveyed 10,000 children and young people aged 16 to 25 from 10 countries. So, Australia, Brazil, Finland, France, India, Nigeria, of course, Philippines, Portugal, UK, and USA. Okay, so this study aimed to better understand the feelings, thoughts, and functional impacts associated with climate change among young people globally. It explores and discusses the relationships between climate-related distress, perceived government responses, and moral injury. Results revealed that respondents overwhelmingly were worried to some degree, and more than half reported experiencing anger, sadness, or guilt because of climate change. Over 45% of participants stated these feelings had significant negative impact on their everyday life. Also, 8 out of 10 children and young people across the world are worried that climate change is threatening people and the planet. Okay, again, sharing with you these figures. Okay, 71% reported that climate anxiety are having negative impacts on daily functioning, which includes eating, sleeping, having fun, schoolwork, and dealing with relationships. Also, 71% of Filipino respondents think that they have no access to the same opportunities that their parents had. Okay. Furthermore, 77% thinks that their family's security will be threatened in terms of economic, social, and physical security. This time, this chart shows that 47% of Filipino respondents are hesitant, okay, to have children because of climate change. So they are probably afraid that their future children are also doomed somehow, and that what's left for them, okay? And we have this also, 73% think humanity is doomed. Okay, sharing with you this part of the study where a certain Mitsitan, 23-year-old Filipina, was quoted saying, "I grew up being afraid of drowning in my own bedroom. Society tells me that this anxiety is an irrational fear that needs to be overcome, one that meditation and healthy coping mechanisms will fix. At its root, our climate anxiety comes from the deep-set feeling of betrayal because of government inaction. So to truly understand our growing climate anxiety, we need justice." So all in all, may this somehow give us a preview of a profile, a general profile that would give us statistics or data relevant on the prevalence of climate anxiety based from the youth of our country. So climate anxiety indeed is a pressing concern, and we have to learn how to manage it. So I'll be sharing with you some ways on how we could better deal with the gloom brought about by climate change. First, it's very important that we recognize our feelings, and let ourselves feel the feelings. So just like a popular statement nowadays, it is okay to not be okay, especially if we deal with climate crisis. So those negative feelings associated with climate change are a normal and valid response to a negative situation, and you can't just inject optimism and brush aside your negative feelings. So what's not okay is if we do not do something about our not being okay. So we should come up with ways on how we could manage how we feel and push for actions to change our current reality. It's important to remember that no matter how our climate anxiety is manifesting, the feelings are a signal of our connection with our world. So it just means that we care. Next, we cannot let fear win. We need to counter apathy with radical hope. So radical hope is a belief that meaningful action can make a difference, which is rooted in the reality of the crisis rather than a naive belief that it might not be as bad as we think. So embracing hope is acknowledging that things are bad, but we build on these opportunities for climate action. And the way to spread hope is to collectively challenge the environmental mindset of doom and gloom that only reproduces a hopeless status quo. So getting accurate information about the environment can empower communities and help them feel prepared and resilient if a crisis occurs. So we can easily be influenced by the information we see each day in the media, politics, advertising, and on social media platforms. So seeing this information over and over again can actually cause stress, especially if it is inaccurate, biased, or presented in a certain way. Although people can benefit from educating themselves about environmental issues, being exposed to overwhelming amount of information or lots of untrustworthy information can actually create anxiety. So let's do our fact check first, and know if our sources are legit. Okay? So let's also learn to discern well which information are toxic and which are those that may promote hysteria. Okay? And choose the ones that can actually reframe our mindset and propel us to action. So it is important that we know when to disengage as well or unplug from media sources, at least for some time or temporarily, as it may also reduce immediate stress levels. Of course, a key factor, at least to reduce the feelings of guilt and powerlessness, is to do our part, in our small ways, to care for the planet. So reducing our carbon footprints by promoting a sustainable lifestyle and practicing green habits are one of them. Next is to connect with nature. Okay, let's reminding ourselves about the nature's great majesty can be a great emotional boost. So in fact, a large body of evidence correlates time spent outdoors and improved physical and mental health. Heart rate, blood pressure, and self-report measures provide the most convincing evidence that spending time in outdoor environments, particularly those with green space, may reduce the experience of stress and ultimately improve health. Okay, adding house plants may be the best way to get nature into your home. So when pandemic hits, everyone in the world are forced to stay within the confines of their home. So restricted to go out. Everyone is looking for diversions from the harsh realities of lockdowns, COVID scares, deaths, and uncertainties. So this plant craze phenomenon, termed as plantdemic, happened globally. So everyone seems to all turn into plants, becoming plantitos and plantitas. Okay, it offers a huge option that allows us to breathe life into our space. So, and why not? No? When tending plants would actually give us a lot of benefits. So sharing with you some of them, no? Plant beautifies. We cannot deny the fact that plant add to the aesthetic look of our house. It's also a common scientific knowledge that plant purifies air. So taking carbon dioxide out of the environment and releases oxygen into it. This nicely complements humans, which do the opposite. But we also learn that they also remove toxic chemicals and make humans breathe better. Okay, so plant also energizes. Having plants in our workplace can help make work less stressful and even boost productivity. Okay, plant suits also. So they act as natural first aid resource. Like aloe vera, an attractive and popular house plant, it contains a soothing gel, applying it to minor abrasions, burns, and some skin conditions for gentle healing effect. Okay, plant also heals. So studies have shown that patients who have plants near their beds in hospital have health benefits. So recovery from illness is more rapid for those with exposure to plants. Plant also have pave ways for us to connect to others. Okay, plant groups, um, even during live selling, they people connect, no, to each other. We also have, no, I hope you have heard of that, community plant trees, no, during um, the early part of pandemic also. And then this one, okay, plant also uplifts our spirit. So grounded in the principles of horticultural therapy, which is a process through which we strive to improve, no, our well-being through active and passive involvement with plants and plant-related activities. So examples of which are green garden visits or visit to green spaces, okay, flower pressing, leaf art, and then flower arrangements. No? All these are not just plant-related activities. The role actually of horticultural therapy is to use this as opportunities for mindful exercise with emphasis on being intentional. So this is how it will help us really cope and improve our mental health. Okay, now, no, I'm sure this is not something new to you, no, but let me just also share it, no, to help us alleviate panic attacks and bouts of anxieties. We can make use of breathing exercises, one of which is what we call mindful breathing. So a very basic yet powerful mindfulness meditation practice. The idea is to simply focus your attention on your breathing, to its natural rhythm and the flow and the way it feels on each inhale and exhale. So you may also follow the 4-7-8 breathing technique. So inhale in 4 counts, hold your breath in 7 counts, then slowly exhale through your mouth in 8 counts, making that whoosh sound. Okay, so following on the breath is particularly helpful because it serves as an anchor, something that you can turn your attention to at any time if you start to feel stressed or carried away by negative emotions. So you may also try this other mindfulness exercise, and it's called the grounding technique. So before starting this exercise, pay attention again, no, to your breathing, no, just like what we learned, no, on the 4-7-8 counts, no, or breathing. Okay, so slowly, deeply, and doing some long breaths, no, you can actually help you maintain a sense of calm or help you return to a calmer state. So once you find your breath, go through the following steps to help ground yourself. Okay, so we have 5 4 3 2 1 rule, no, for us to remember it more easily. Okay, so 5 is to acknowledge 5 things you see around you. So it could be a pen, or a spot on the ceiling, or anything in your surroundings. 4 is to acknowledge 4 things that you can touch around you. So it could be your hair, a pillow, no, or the ground under your feet. Also acknowledge 3 things that you hear. So this could be an external sound. If you can hear your belly rumbling, no, that counts too. Okay, you can focus on the things that you can hear outside your body. Okay, and then 2, acknowledge 2 things that you can smell. So maybe you can smell your new bed sheets, okay, or you can smell probably your food, no, or your coffee, no, the aroma of your coffee. So if you need to take a brief walk also to find the scent that you could smell, like go to the bathroom and smell, no, your soap or shampoo, or even nature outside. Okay, and then 1, acknowledge 1 thing that you can taste. So what does the inside of your mouth taste like? So it could be your coffee, or your sandwich, no, from your merienda. Okay, so this technique is one of the many options that you can use if you are feeling anxious or overwhelmed. So the key here also is that you try to be in the moment. You try to also you make use of your senses, no, to somehow distract also you from thinking of your worries, okay, or your issues in the past also. Okay, so find your way to reset and keep calm. Mindfulness practice as well as meditation can be very effective for just grounding oneself in the present moment. So bringing you back to baseline when you might otherwise feel that you are spiraling. Okay? So with the basic steps of grounding techniques, we can actually incorporate these mindfulness states in daily activities. So again, we take deep breaths. We try to be in the moment. We use our senses and observe, okay, our thoughts and our emotions, and explore why those specific ideas might be surfacing. Okay, to cultivate acceptance, let's avoid judging or pushing away unpleasant thoughts. Emotions are natural and everyone has them. So acknowledging them can help you understand yourself better and move forward. So this is a sample of applying mindfulness in our daily tasks. So particularly in tending our plants. So you can do this exercise. You can hold your plant in front of you. Take your deep breaths. Okay, for a moment, imagine that you are in a garden. Feel yourself planted when you are seated. Take your breaths again, and then look at your plant. Notice its color, its shape, its size, the texture of the leaf. Okay, you can even smell its fragrance. Okay, as you do this, thoughts and emotions may arise, no? But just observe them calm and let them go. Okay, as you water your plant, you can also focus on the sound of water dripping. You can also dip your finger in the soil, etc. So again, this is just a sample of an activity that we can apply mindfulness exercises. Okay, so moving on, no? Let's look into another way to manage climate anxiety, and this is to channel your feelings to connect with others. So raise your own and others' awareness of the problem. Talk to the people within your sphere of influence, like friends, family, to encourage positive change for a healthier planet. Promote your environmental issues and the little things that you're doing in such a manner that it will motivate others to join. Also, find your space in the climate movement. So find a community or a group to support and will support you as well. So there are a number of that environmental communities, okay, or groups that promote these advocacies. I may just be sharing a few, no, actually, three of them. So, Climate Reality Project Philippines is a collaborative, diverse, and multidisciplinary community of Pinoy climate reality leaders innovating to find solutions to the climate crisis through skill sharing, value formation, and capacity building activities, mobilization and institutionalization of nation building efforts towards an inclusive, empowered, and transformed Philippines. We also have YAKAP, or Youth Advocates for Climate Action Philippines, an alliance of individuals and youth formations that advocate for immediate, youth-led, and collective global climate action, climate justice, defense of environmental defenders, and system change. And of course, halayo pa ba tayo? No? We have our very own Earth UST, environmental advocates, reaching towards humanity. It is the premier environmental university-wide organization whose main focus is the promotion of environmental awareness, education, advocacy, and action within the Tomasian community. So you may want to join them or others, and you may actually just actively participate in their projects. You may get involved in conservation activities or campaigns to protect the environment. And lastly, yes, most of you are already registered voters. Okay, I hope you do your research on the candidates who are running for the election. So do background check of maybe search for their projects and platforms, especially on how they can they intend to mitigate climate crisis and promote mental health. And also, so for next year, please vote wisely. Choose leaders who have the political will for climate action. Also, to end, let this be a reminder to us all. Burnt out people will find it hard to serve a burning planet. So that means that coping, caring, and healing is essential part of climate work. Climate anxiety is real, but we can proactively push back against its dark shadow. It's hard to look at the future staying positive, but it's important to remember that the climate crisis is not the only nor the first adversity that human race has endured. So the path ahead may not be smooth, but guys, we're not all doomed. So let's be eco warriors in our own ways. Together we can still change the end game story. But in helping make that happen, remember to take care of yourself, people around you, and of course, Mother Earth. So rather than focus on the doom, let's push to thrive, bloom against or amidst the gloom. Okay? May we live a fearless, sustainable, hopeful, and purposeful life. Thank you, everyone. I hope that you may have some takeaways or at least some key learnings, and hopefully gained also a healthier perspective about the topic. So God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Versosa, for that informative discussion.
I hope our audience feels enlightened on the topic of climate anxiety.
What is climate anxiety again? Any thoughts, Savvy?
Sav, you're putting me on the spot. But based on my understandings from the talk, climate anxiety is a form of psychological distress that is related to our climate crisis.
Correct. To add to that, climate anxiety, also known as eco-anxiety and climate distress, refers to the fear, anxiety, and challenging emotions experienced to a significant degree associated with environmental issues and the threats they pose. Simply said, gaya ng sabi ni Salvi, it is a dread, worry, tension caused by climate change.
And to add to what our speaker has said, climate anxiety definitely has a significant effect on mental well-being, especially with the Philippines situated in the Pacific Ring of Fire, meaning we are definitely prone to typhoons and other natural disasters caused by the rapid change of the climate. Therefore, we can say that this may aggravate mental health concerns such as the anxiety we feel as a result of this environmental threat.
Oftentimes, we fail to notice how climate change affects how we view the world and our future. The effect of these environmental problems surely extend beyond changing temperatures and drastic weather changes. The anxiety and worry that we feel about this are very real, and they are valid. They negatively affect our lifestyles and our behavior too.
All the more that the importance of environmental psychology here in the Philippines must be emphasized. Coping strategies are indeed helpful at dealing with the stressful situations in our lives. So discussing the psychological impacts of climate change is a step toward a more inclusive and holistic viewpoint to mental health.
Now we shall move to the awarding of the e-certificate to our speaker. The citation reads, the University of Santo Tomas Psychology Society Academic Year 2021 to 2022 hereby presents this certificate of appreciation to Ms. Leilani R. Bersalda for being the resource speaker in the online event entitled On Changing Climates and Minds, Discussions on the Possible Impact of Climate Change to Mental Health of the USC Psychology Society in the year 2021 to 2022. Signed by Janine Christine Segoras, President of the USC Psychology Society, Assistant Professor Maria Crisalda Tenco Packing, PhD, RPSci, RPM, Advisor to the USC Psychology Society, Chair to the USC Department of Psychology. And Ms. Ju Riza S. Go, MA, RPM, Advisor to the USC Psychology Society. Once again, thank you very much to our guest speaker for lending your time and expertise to us for our webinar this afternoon.
With that, I believe this marks the end of the afternoon session of our webinar. As we all know, all good things must come to an end, but the learnings from this 3-episode podcast will definitely remain.
It is definitely a bittersweet moment for us as hosts of this podcast, but today's talk was truly one that was very informative and something I would take with me, especially as a student and a responsible and empathic member of the society.
That's so true. I'm sure everyone else was able to relate as well. And these are things that we will definitely apply in our lives, especially with today's talk on climate anxiety. For the very last time, I would like to end this by saying, let us continue on working hand in hand together in making this place not just a better place, but the best place to live in.
With that, we would like to remind our audience to accomplish our evaluation forms through the link below, or you may scan the QR code in the next slide to get your certificate of participation.
We would like to thank everyone once more for attending our webinar this afternoon. We hope that you have gathered valuable insights on the talk on climate anxiety. Let us all sing together the UST hymn.
This
For the very last time, I am Enisaver Amaranto from Chi Psychology 6 of the College of Science and from the Green Committee of Psychology Society, your sustainably savvy.
And I am Sabrina V. Periabras from Tree Psychology 2 of the College of Science, your Sustaina Girl Sab, and also from the Green Committee. And we have been your hosts for this webinar.
We would like to extend our utmost gratitude for your time and participation in episode 3 of the On Changing Climate and Mind, discussions on possible impact of climate change to mental health, an advocacy webinar headed by the UST Psychology Society.
Once again, this episode is in collaboration with environmental advocate Reaching Towards Humanity, Earth UST, and is co-presented by CEU Psychology Society and UST Behavioral Science Society.
In partnership with Agriculture Students Association of the Philippines, or ASAE, and of course with special thanks to Mapua Psychology Society and UST Community Achievers Association.
This has been on Changing Climates and Minds, discussions on possible impact of climate change to mental health. Thank you very much for tuning in with us.